So we know that cancer imaging has grown through the years via a number of disruptive technology. So we started with the X-ray in 1895, with the ultrasound in 1956, CT in 1972, MRI in 1973 or thereabouts. And then we have hybrid imaging that started really in the realm of 1990s. And in 2010, the growing use of high-capacity computing has allowed us to perform deep learning. Now, it is a problem for radiologists to think of AI and machine learning as a disrupting technology because it is not confined to a machine. You can't buy AI and machine learning in a machine. It is based on mathematics and informatics, something that is a language that is not natural to radiologists. The problem is that it is rapidly developing and has wide applicability in the whole imaging pipeline. And unfortunately, there has still been limited dialogue, although this is growing, between developers and the wider radiological community. And many emerging products that you see currently are costly without necessarily proven performance or benefit. So how are we going to engage in this growing field is something we hope this session will help to cover and address. So the aim of this online survey was to understand the current attitudes and perceptions of radiologists and professionals to AI and machine learning in cancer imaging. And really the idea is to use these findings to inform discussion of how to develop and prioritize AI tools for cancer imaging. So what we did was that we designed an online survey together with Dr. Anne Miles from the Department of Psychology in Birkbeck University, London. It was administered through a SurveyMonkey, and I think some of you in the room might have participated in the online survey. We had wide publicity through social media, radiological societies, healthcare groups, and direct marketing. And we opened the survey for 6 months between November 2018 and April 2019. The completion was, we had 664 responses, which is a nice number, of which 569 were radiologists. So some of the things we asked were collected with the normal demographics, and I will just fly through these so that you have a snapshot of who are the people that were involved in the survey. So the majority of we can see that there was really good coverage of the age range in our survey group, from more than 25 to about 60 years old. There were slightly more males than females, and more than 40 countries were represented. So that's very, very encouraging for us. And we also have a good representation from both academic as well as general hospitals, as you can see, accounting each for about 40% of the spread, and private clinics about 10 to 20%. The majority were consultants or attending levels, so that was important because we were receiving these results from potential decision makers when it comes to investing in AI tools. And also, again, the majority was experienced radiologists, like many of you in the room, with more than 10 years in the radiological practice. We also asked what proportion of their work were involved in cancer imaging. The majority spend more than 25% of their time in cancer imaging. So first, we wanted a general perception of where we are in terms of people's attitude about their views about the risk versus benefit of AI and machine learning being used in imaging. And also we asked a general question of how did they think their job as a radiologist would be impacted in the next 5 years because of development of AI and machine learning. So quite, I think reassuringly, I think many radiologists think that the benefits are much bigger than the risk, or slightly bigger than the risk. Very few people thought that the risks were higher than the benefits. So clearly everybody in the room thinks that this is a good idea. Now, when we ask that, how do they think that AI AI and machine learning will impact their jobs in the next 5 years, we find that the majority thought that the tools will make small impact in their work in the next 5 years, and a smaller percentage think that it will be substantially adding value to what we do every day. So notice that the relative smaller number to think that actually AI is going to create a negative impact. Now, we then asked a series of questions that were randomly asked in the survey that we classify as either negative views or positive views about AI and machine learning. So we'll first go through the negative views. So first we said that, well, AI and machine learning could replace the job of the radiologist. And I think what was really nice to see was the majority of people disagreed with that. So everybody is confident about their profession. AI machine learning would dictate how we work as radiologists. You can see that here the split is about even between agreement and disagreement. So there is some uncertainty about how the future work that we're going to undertake may look like. Then we asked that AI and machine learning will result in fewer radiologists working in each imaging department. And again, we can see that split. There is uncertainty about job security. Some people think it would be okay, others think that it wouldn't be. And also we asked whether AI and machine learning would devalue radiology as a profession. And you can see that the majority strongly disagrees. So there is a sense in the community that even with the machines, what we can add value to the radiological examination is not going to be compromised. And we said that AI will outperform radiologists for disease detection within a decade. And currently, the picture is again mixed. So there's uncertainty about what the technology currently brings and to what extent it would actually alter the way we do our work. One of the things that we also asked was that we wanted to know whether radiologists dislike AI tools and development that will compromise their individuality, because everybody in the room has their own way of reading examination. They have different hanging protocols. They like to do things differently because that makes us individual, and we think that that, in a way, is how we add value to our interaction with the clinician. So not surprisingly, I think there is a slight agreement here amongst radiologists that dislike, although there is also a substantial proportion that doesn't think that that would be a problem. So the question is that how do we can design tools that help to also ensure that that doesn't actually compromise individual sort of approaches to the reading or the performance of these examinations. In terms of the positive finding, I will fly through this because they are positive. The majority agrees with them. So AI and machine learning will alert us to abnormal findings. It should increase work efficiency. It can make diagnostic suggestion when we are not sure. And this is a very important point. I think we also ask, when the AI and machine learning make a mistake, who should be responsible for that? And it seems that the majority of people agree or strongly agree that the radiologist should be responsible, even though we are going into the potential age of the machines. So then the other thing we asked was that, will AI and machine learning improve direct patient to radiologist communication by making available more free time for such interactions? And again, I was quite surprised to see that the majority agreed. And I think this is a very important point to remember, and it will be addressed by our meeting president, Gianni Verona, in his keynote lecture later on this morning. So most people think that our work is likely to change to involve more direct patient communication. And is this a value proposition? This is something we do have to think about. So we also asked a series of questions about how important it is now for radiologists to start thinking about preparing for the AI transformation. Is it important to engage with stakeholders now? And how important it is for radiological department to start planning right now? And we can see that both statements garnered over 70% agreement, which means that most people think that it is the right time to do that. But clearly, there is a problem here. There is a knowledge gap. So everybody in the room may want to do that, but how do you start? And our society would think about road mapping, and at least think about these problems, and think about creating forums for these discussions as to how we can engage in this process of starting our individual journey or the department journey in the transformation of your department. So we asked, how should we start preparing for AI now? Is it important to invest in education, undertake pilot testing of machine learning tools? Should we be participating in a project that helps to curate images and annotate imaging data? And also work with commercial vendors to develop specific AI tools that improve workflow. And you might not be surprised at all that the majority agreed with all these statements that it is really important to actually do these steps now so that we can prepare ourselves for the future. So overall, radiologists really do understand the importance of early planning and engagement for AI. They want to engage with AI education and commercial vendors to develop and test tools that will enhance our future. We were also interested in how much the general radiologist pool now actually trust AI. So we asked them how often do they think that the results of whatever AI machine interpretation currently are correct. And if we were head to an AI machine-based interpretation of the scan, would you trust the results? And the majority think that they can be correct some of the time, okay? So the verdict is out as to how good these tools are, because I think there are many available, but as I said, not many of them perform up to scratch in the specific context that you might be wanting to use the tools. And again, asking about whether you trust the results, the majority think that it is only somewhat or moderately, so there is only low to moderate trust with the tools that are currently available. So we also asked the people who answered the questionnaire about their thoughts about the transformation of their role from being a radiologist sitting in a dark room to an imaging physician that will have much more direct engagement with patients. So if machine can improve our diagnostic performance and work efficiency as radiologists, do you think the traditional model of our diagnostic services should change to include more direct patient engagement? And you will see here, I beg your pardon, that 54% said yes in some areas, i.e. high complexity areas such as CT, MRI, and intervention. But notice 32% think that we should do it in all areas of our diagnostic radiology service. So we also asked what tools should we prioritize at the moment in terms of making the workflow better for us as cancer imaging radiologists. And so tools that track tumors across multiple time points and to assess response. Some of these tools, as you know, are already available, so people strongly agree that that's a really good idea. Tools that improve automatic or semi-automatic tumor segmentation, so this could be either for radiotherapy planning or for radiomics research or for quantitative imaging, and a lot of people also agree or strongly agree. Tools that support radiologists in pro forma reporting that allows you to capture annotated data prospectively. I mean, one of the problems at the moment is doing any sort of AI research is that we often have to go and employ a fellow, tie them down to a workstation for 3 months and say, all you're going to do now is draw regions of interest around tumors. Now, that is clearly not sustainable. If we want to do this at scale and in every department, we will have to do this prospectively. And it's interesting that a lot of radiologists out there think that we should be doing this prospectively and through pro forma reporting so that we can capture the sort of data we need for AI and machine learning. So we also want tools that help us confidently identify normal examinations so that the radiologist can focus on dealing with the abnormal examinations. And this is really trying to address the problem of our workforce issues where we have rising number of examinations to be read every day, and we have a decreasing number of radiologists or inadequate number of radiologists being trained to undertake all these tasks. We also want tools that help us detect, so alert us to any abnormal tumors across the body. And finally, we ask people's experience about these tools, if they have used any tools at all in this area. So the responses were much smaller, and you can see that across all the tool types, there was a wide spread of results, and there is no clear trend at the moment as to how well these tools are performing within the availability. Now, last of all, we ask what are the barriers to the adoption of AI tools. So if you are not currently thinking about using an AI tool in your practice, what is the main reason for that? So interestingly, 46% said there are no reliable tools. So not surprising, because we are very, very early in the field. We need to build better tools. But key for the industrial people in the room is that the current tools are poorly integrated with the radiological workflow. Radiologists are very busy people. They work off the packs. If you need them to open a different software or go to a different workstation just to perform the AI examination or the AI task, they don't seem to be able to even do that. So even if the program is excellent, radiologists want tools that are integrated with their radiological workflow. So we did some subgroup analysis in terms of the responders, just to say that there was no difference in terms of the response with regards to age, sex, professional level, geographical location, and responses between radiologists and allied professionals. So in conclusion, the take-home points are that radiologists generally view AI developments overall as positive, and these technologies are likely to make a small to large impact in the next 5 years. Radiologists are in good agreement about potential positive aspect of AI, but there is more disagreement about potential negative aspect, reflecting uncertainties in these areas. There's a recognition by radiologists to invest in education, actively engage with stakeholders, and prepare departments for AI development. And radiologists know what tools are important for cancer imaging, but the performance of existing tools are highly variable. And the lack of reliable tools and their poor integration into the radiologist's workflow are major barriers to adoption of AI technology. So with that, first I'd like to acknowledge the help of radiological societies across the world for their help in conducting this survey. And without further ado, I would like to invite our second speaker onto the stage,